just briefly to mention about secondary level accreditation. It's the responsibility of each of the 50 states, and each of the 50 states has its own Department of Education with some kind of commission or board that does accredit at the secondary level. Some of these regional accreditors do have a component or a subsection which also accredits secondary schools. That's not mandatory. It's mandatory for schools to be accredited by their state. Also, the U.S. Department of Education doesn't handle any secondary level accreditation per se, because it's up to the states. Okay, now, again, for a brief review, before we talk about implications for Polish institutions, what does all of this lead to? What does this get us, all of this work on accreditation? Well, it gives us a quality assurance system across the U.S. for all types of institutions. It also gives us, let's say, encouragement to the universities to make sure that what they are offering and what they present about themselves is fair and accurate, and that students and their parents, as, let's say, consumers of education, forgive the term, can rely on what the university says it's doing. It also does tie to the work world, because it should give some kind of insurance to the graduates of the university, to a potential employer, that what the student has done is valid program of study because it's an accredited one. Also, in terms of international students, this is important. We make sure to encourage international students coming to the U.S. to only attend accredited universities. If they don't, they are at jeopardy in having their degree recognized when they return home. Even if they stay in the U.S., their degree might not be recognized as a valid degree if it's not from an accredited institution. So that's a very important point when we talk to international student audiences. Of course, it accomplishes the transfer of credits to enable this mobility within our system, and this important fact, mainly for American students, of access to U.S. financial aid. So those are the results that come out of working on accreditation. Some further resources I'll give you when we send you the presentation, or I'll put them in the Google Drive, but I just listed that here again as well for you. Now, about non-American higher education institutions accessing American accreditation status. There are basically, I would say, well, 3 different options: regional, programmatic, and then the mysterious other, which I will show you. First of all, the regional. Regional, I want to start with this because, as I said, it's basically the highest level. Well, out of the 6, by the way, I count 6, not 7, because the Western Association, the junior and the senior, they're all in the Western Association. So those 6 regional ones, 5 of them allow it, technically, will allow foreign institutions to undergo accreditation. The North Central one, that big one in the middle of the country, doesn't. Because if you look at its bylaws, it says that the jurisdiction of the commission falls within, it extends accreditation and candidacy for accreditation to institutions that are incorporated in. And it lists all of these states. And note it only lists states. And that they operate under federal authority within these states. So, by their very definition, the North Central Association institutions have said, we are not accrediting any foreign institutions. It's not our jurisdiction. We only have authority in these American states. So, they said, no, we're not going to do it. However, the other regional bodies haven't necessarily said that. One of them that's been the most active is the New England one, which is the Commission on Institutions of Higher Education of the New England states. And they have accredited foreign institutions. Here are some of them. And basically, notice how they have American in their name. A lot of them. Not all of them, but they do. Because here, let me read to you their eligibility criteria. So the New England Association, Commission on Institutions of Higher Education, in order to be eligible for accreditation, the institution publicly declares itself to be an American-style institution. And it has a governing board, administration, faculty, and professional staff, including a significant proportion of Americans. It uses English as its principal language of instruction. And that it offers academic programs that are comparable in length, curriculum, objectives, learning outcomes, and degrees as those offered in the United States. That's why it's technically possible for foreign institutions to apply for regional accreditation through the New England Association, but you see the ones that are really these American colleges abroad. Now, the Middle States Commission, which is the one, New York, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. Oh, look at the names here. What do you see in these names as well? So it's the same thing. An institution that is basically established under American auspices outside the United States is eligible for that. However, that's not entirely true. Here are some other universities that are accredited by the Middle States Commission. You see there are some which are, well, Central European University in Budapest, I would say, is an American-style institution. There's a Canadian one. There are a couple of British ones, including the Open University. And then there is a Taiwanese one, which is a liberal arts college. And there's one from the UAE and one from Chile as well. There are some doubts coming up among the regional accreditors whether they should be accrediting abroad. I just contacted the Western Association, and my colleague was in touch with the Middle States Association, and they both told us that they're having a temporary moratorium on accepting any foreign institutions for accreditation because they are reviewing their policies. Number one, they're not sure if they can do this. Unlike the northern states' jurisdiction is only those states, so they can't do it. The others can do it that way, but they're not sure if they have the, let's say, the resources to do it and to do it right. They don't want to simply export some American model and have institutions undergo American accreditation if the institutions can't keep it up, or the Accreditation Association also can't monitor it. They can't properly monitor it because, again, that doesn't guarantee quality for anyone. So they're worried about their ability to do that, it seems. Some people have called it neo-colonialist, meaning, again, exporting an American model, and why should it be exported? And then also the cost. It costs a lot to undergo accreditation, and also for the Accreditation Association to run the whole thing. So doing that abroad, it could cost quite a lot of money to do the review process. Now, programmatic accreditation. That's, I think, a better way to go for accrediting specific programs. Approximately 800 programs in around 70 countries are accredited by American programmatic accreditors. The largest one is ABET. They're in the fields of engineering and computer science. I mentioned AACSB, and you see the others are also, the largest ones are business schools. So your engineering and your business schools have a very good opportunity to have these programmatic accreditation. Now, the last one that I want to mention to you as a good possibility, and I think some universities are interested in, is getting back to this Department of Education, which I wrongly said does nothing internationally. Here's something that it kind of does internationally. Now, with our federal student loan system, students get these guaranteed loans and they pay them back at low interest rates. Also, they are able to defer their loans if they go into further study, if they go into a master's program after a bachelor's degree program. And this is very important for American students because they don't want to continue their education if they have to repay their loans already. That costs way too much money. So the U.S. Department of Education does have a program to help overcome this. It's called the Foreign School Direct Loan Setup. And foreign universities can do one of two things. Number one, they can apply to disperse American federal student loans, subsidized student loans, to American students that are studying at their university. As you can imagine, that's quite a long and complicated process with lots of financial reporting. However, one easier thing, simpler thing, is the deferment. So you can also apply through the same system, the same program, for deferment eligibility for Americans. And a lot of European institutions, I find, are more and more interested in this because they want to attract Americans to come for a degree program. For example, master's degree programs taught in English, which we know are very popular in Europe. The Americans, however, some of them are prohibited or it's difficult for them to come because if that European university is not on this list, then they have to start repaying their undergraduate student loans. While at the same time, 6 months after graduation, at the same time that they come to the European institution. So if the European institution gets on this list, then that barrier to hosting Americans will go away. Now, I looked at the database yesterday. There are 403 foreign universities participating in this. Here are the Polish ones. Is anyone from any of these institutions? Yes? And do you know about this program? Does it work? Has it helped?
Works very well. But
Works very well?
It will require a lot of paperwork from us.
Lots of paperwork, yes. Mm-hmm.
But it works.
It does work. So do you think it has helped you get American students to come?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
Good.
I have to say they would probably not be coming if we didn't have federal loans.
Mm-hmm. Good. The same as well? It does help? Good. I'm glad to hear that. So that's, it's a lot of paperwork, but it's a relatively easy option. And I believe it's cost-free, isn't it? Do you have to pay for the registration?
No.
No. I think it's free. You don't even have to pay the U.S. Department of Education.
Well, audits.
Audits.
You have to pay for
Right.
audits, yes.
Mm-hmm. So just to give you some example of some of the other European schools that have done this, I mean, most of the British universities and the top British universities, but others in Denmark, Sofia University in Bulgaria, in Netherlands, Germany, in the Czech Republic, also the Charles University Medical School and Masaryk University in Brno have done this. So, in order to do this, you have to prove that you're accredited in your home country, that you have the financial responsibility to administer U.S. student loans. You have to send audited financial statements, etc., etc. You have to do it in English, of course, right? So, and there's the list of, or the web link to do that. Maybe it is not exactly, won't lead directly to achieving American accreditation, but if you're interested in engaging further with American universities, in attracting American students, please do consider your university partnerships and making sure that they are viable and robust programs. Because as you probably know, there is some credit mobility outside of the EU that's now allowed with partner universities under Erasmus+. Also the formerly known as Erasmus Mundus. These will continue joint degrees and dual degrees. American universities can be part of European consortia. And then also a lot of R&D cooperation projects in science and technology, all of the various Horizon 2020 actions of the European Commission. U.S. universities can participate in many of these, and individuals as well. So there are some other vehicles for, again, if it's doesn't lead exactly to accreditation in the American system, they will help you attract Americans to your campus and deepen your relationships with American universities. So, finally, I just want to leave you with these questions. Do you want to seek U.S. accreditation, your institution? If so, what type? Would it be regional? Would it be programmatic? Would it be the listing with the U.S. Department of Ed for the loan deferment? But really, you have to think about what is the value added for your university. Is it worth your time and effort? What will you gain from it, your university? And do you have the commitment? The commitment from the university leadership, the time, the staff to do the administration, and also the long-term point of view. Because as I said, U.S. accreditation is a continuous review process. So it doesn't happen once and you're done. It will happen in years to come as well. So if you are considering U.S. accreditation, just please keep these questions in mind. And also feel free to contact me and my colleagues here at the U.S. Embassy. We'd be happy to help you think about this and discuss it further with you as well. But if you have any questions, you can see me afterwards. And if not, I'd like to thank you for your attention and your contribution. And I hope the information is useful, and we will share it with you. So, thank you.